about how they were instrumental in the defence of the Falklands. But first, here's Joseph's initial findings on the conflict's 30th anniversary 10 years ago.
Howard Crabb remembers a different battle, one which was to be played out not here, but here in Cambridge.
I can remember the call coming in from the RAF, and it was, "We're going to war. What can marshals do?"
April 1982, just weeks into the conflict, but already supplies are running short.
I just didn't realise how much we was going to be involved and what such a big deal it would be.
Nothing compares to that day the RAF asked him to do the impossible.
The C-130 had no capability of air-to-air refuelling to get down to the Falkland Islands. So marshals designed, manufactured and installed a refuelling probe to the C-130.
The Hercules was absolutely essential to resupply the troops, food, ammunition, medicine, but an 8,000-mile journey required numerous fuel stops. Marshals solved that problem, and within 19 days, their Hercs were doing it in one go. The man in charge of the RAF knows without marshals, things could have been very different.
It was quite remarkable the way that engineers and everybody rallied around and got on with their work 24 hours a day. And the Hercules did a tremendous job of work.
Could we once again defend the Falklands if we had to? Now, whether or not our military could stretch that far is a question that's hard to answer. But one thing we know for sure, though, is the work done here at Marshall's on these Hercules mean these planes would have no problem getting there whatsoever.
Wow, Steve Silk is the head of manufacturing at Marshall Aerospace in Cambridge. Steve, that's a bit of nostalgia for you there, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that takes me back a few years, definitely. And I worked with Howard, you spoke to previously, on the same project. But yeah, it brings back good memories.
So tell us about Marshall's role there in the air-to-air fuelling for the C-130 aircraft used in the Falklands conflict.
Well, as Howard said, we designed, manufactured and installed a probe which was mounted externally on the fuselage of the aircraft. So we designed an extended fuel system, mounted it on the cockpit just forward of the, just clear of the nose, and a fuel pipe had to be installed all the way along the top of the aircraft. The existing fuel system was modified to take the fuel from the refuelling probe. And that was all done in around about 20 days from the initial call from the MOD to flight trials and delivery on the 5th of May. So we got the call on the 15th of April. The aircraft was delivered into service on the 5th of May just to get from the Ascension Isles down to the Falklands.
Wow. And if Britain needed or wanted to defend the country again today as it did 40 years ago, would it have the same capability? Would it be able to do it again?
What, the Hercules?
Yeah, I guess so. And I guess sort of, I'm sort of thinking really in terms of we talk about we talk about how things move on in the future, don't we? But often that's not always the case. So I'm wondering if, because 40 years have passed, if we have got technological advances,
modifications, repairs, and maintenance on the C-130s. In fact, Marshall is probably one of the biggest service centres for C-130s in the world.
I was going to say, you sound just as proud now as Howard did 10 years ago. So it's obviously something that never really changes.
Nothing changes, no. I mean, the Marshall as a company in these type of conflicts always comes together, every single department. I mean, in the Falklands, in them first couple of 3 weeks, everybody was working around the clock, every single department. And they would still do the same today in the same situation. Well,
I mean, obviously we're looking back at Falklands, but obviously now we've got the war with Ukraine and Russia. So, would that if you got asked to help, would you sort of jump into action in just the same way?
Yes, we are today. Funny enough, we are making sure that the Hercules owned by the RAF are delivered quickly, so they're out of these hangars and they're in service with the MOD today.
That's extraordinary. Steve, thank you so much for coming on this programme this morning. It's so brilliant to hear the sort of present and past contributions of Marshall Aerospace in Cambridge. Malcolm